found a place to spend the night, and woke up the next morning to leave, and walked out and discovered that my truck and my car and everything that we owned had been stolen. And that was kind of one of those defining moments in my life, because I was like, okay, what do we do? Do I go back to Alaska? But what do I go back to? Do I continue to move forward with our plans? But with what? The only thing I had at that moment was the clothes I was wearing, and a little backpack with a hygiene kit. And so I spent 3 days in Seattle on the street. This was before cell phones, before personal computers. I didn't own a computer at that time. I think the Apple had just came out with the Apple IIc or something like that.
Yeah.
I didn't have one. But we decided to continue on.
What are you doing during those 3 days? Are you praying or just thinking or?
Just thinking, certainly praying. I mean, I do remember after discovering, that my truck was gone.
Yeah.
The first thing I did was, went and prayed for wisdom, for direction.
Yeah.
But I also prayed for those thieves, and that as they were going through that truck, that maybe one of my books or perhaps a Bible or something would impact their life and change. I mean, I didn't know what else to do. I wasn't bitter at them. I was just a deep, deep hurt that someone would do that. I spent times on payphones making collect calls because I just didn't have, trying to figure a way to get out. And after 3 days, I got a flight out of Seattle and went to my parents' house. Now, during this time, my wife and kids are still in Alaska.
Wow.
They were going to fly down after I got things set up in Colorado. That was a moment, though, that I really began to see people beyond just the physical.
Mm-hmm.
That I saw there were people who were genuinely compassionate, generous people, and people that we didn't know, people that I will never meet, reached out to help us. That happened in May. In August, we were attending a conference. We still hadn't made it to Colorado yet, but I wanted to get there for school in August. And but we attended this conference in Indianapolis. And after the conference, my wife and I and our son were making our way back to the parking garage. There was just a mass of people behind us. Mm-hmm. We pull over on a landing in a stairwell to let people by. And this man stopped and saw at the conference they had asked everybody to have a name tag with your name and state. And so we had Alaska on there. And he stopped and he said, "Alaska, what are you doing here?" And I said, "Well, I'm pursuing education, and we moved from Alaska to, we're on our way to Colorado to continue. Not really sure what's going to happen. We've had this crisis. Our things have been stolen, which included my DD-214.
Oh, my gosh.
Okay. And that's what I was going to use military benefits for education. And so that was gone. It wasn't easy to get a replacement at that time, And we talked for just literally maybe a minute or two, and he was gone. I told him what school we were headed to and so forth. the next month, we arrive in Colorado Springs, and I go into the school to register, expecting to take out loans now.
Yeah.
You know, and when I gave them my name, they said, "Oh, yeah, we heard you were coming, and the dean would like to talk with you." And so went back to the dean's office, and he said, "Heard you were coming, heard you had some challenges along the way. Tell me your story." And I told him. And he said, "Well, you met a man in Indianapolis this summer. And he has reached out to us and said that if you show up, he wants to cover all your tuition and all your books." Turned out it was a pediatric surgeon from Dallas, and I've never seen him since. I've sent, letters of thanks, but I've never had the opportunity to see him and thank him for the change that he made in our life. I was a stranger.
Yeah.
And yet this man's generosity changed our lives.